Before any session started, I would always get my pen and paper out, or my iPad and my Apple Pencil, and I'll draw out the exact structure of the session I want to do. I'd have bullet point after bullet point. I have 16 players who have responded to the session, and I'm going to have 16 players, and I'm going to run the perfect session on how to press, making sure I have an attacking 3 and a midfield 3 behind. I'm going to focus on how to make sure they're compact and making sure they know when to press, the different pressing triggers. And then the day of the session comes, and guess what happens? Guess what happens? What happens is that 2 players drop out to illness, 1 person can't make it, another person has a ride. All of a sudden we're down to 12 or 13 people. The session plan I just designed for 16 people has just been obliterated. So here are a few things I wish I knew before actually becoming a football coach. Now, the first ones I've just explained is that a session will almost never go to plan, especially as a grassroots coach. Your session will never, ever properly go to plan. It just doesn't happen. Now, it will feed on to another point which I'll talk about later about adaptability, but what you need to know is that when you are making a session plan, we are not the privilege of being in academies where we have information on every single player. They're always going to come. Even in those situations, players can get injured. But you always know you're going to have a certain facility, a certain resource, and a certain number of players to work with, because you can always fill in with other players, etc. At our level, our grassroots, Sunday League, we have a bit of grass or a bit of 3G to play with. We have a few cones and a couple of goals. Sometimes not even that. And we have players dropping out. It's life, they're children. So what can we do in order to counteract this? Now, when you're making a session plan, have your focus. We talked about this in the previous video. Have your objective. What do you want to get out of it? Now, the points you go about doing this, what are your points for the session and how you're going to go about executing it, you need to be flexible. You can't just say this requires 16 players. You can say, look, if I have 16 players, I can do this, but if I have less, I can do this as well. If it's let's say you're designing a session for 10 people. If 10 people come into your session, it's a 5v5 situation. You create a session plan for 5v5. If you have 8 turn up, 4v4. All of a sudden, maybe you have an odd number. Maybe you have 9. Well, with 9 players, maybe you can create some kind of overload or underload with 5v4 and teach whatever objective you want to teach that way. Your session plan will never, ever properly go to plan. So it's one of the most important things for yourself to understand that you need to be flexible in how you're approaching this. And it's one of the things which will make you and define you as a coach, especially in the early times. And it's one of the things I wish I knew, because when you see online and when you go through all these courses, it's so imperative that we plan our sessions appropriately. And it is. We need to plan our sessions the best of our ability, right? However, things never go to plan. And it's our job, our responsibility to make sure we're doing whatever we can to adapt as much as possible. The first time I led a football session was when I was 16 years old. 16. And when I was asked to speak in front of a group of 5 or 6 children, I was shaking it. I was bricking it almost. It was an experience which wasn't great for me. I was 16 myself. I was a child myself. And I had to stand in front of other children and explain something. It was very daunting. And even if you're not that young, even if you're older, it's something you've probably never done before. Even if you have children, they're not your children, they're someone else's. You don't know what they're like. You don't know how they're going to react. Are they understanding what you're saying? Do they have a clue? All these things you need to take into account. And the way you get over this, the confidence you build, honestly, just comes with time. It's not something you can force. It's something you can master, but with practice. The habit of continually showing up, combined with deliberate practice and always making sure you can find new things which you can improve upon with your confidence, body language, making sure you're always upright, using hand gestures, all those sorts of things. Maybe having more than one way of explaining something. For children, that's very helpful. Can you demo it? Can you explain it? If it's a drill you're doing, is there another way you can show it to someone? Those are all very important things you can take into consideration when you're communicating to people. That confidence that you can exude is only going to come from the experience on a football pitch. It's as simple as that. The experience you have in front of the children is what is the most important thing, really. It's the time you spend with them, and over time, as you get comfortable, you'll gradually find your own way of doing things. Sometimes it's not an easy path, but it's a path we must all take, and the only way you're going to get better at this is just by experience, with time, by continually showing up and up and up. You'll make mistakes, you'll screw up, you'll stumble on a few sentences, sometimes it won't make sense. But the fact that you are turning up, it shows that you are getting better. Little by little, even if it's 0.5% a day, that compounds. And over time, that experience you build up will elevate your confidence, and it'll help you speak in a way which can resonate with children of all ages, depending on what your age is. And it's not just something that is relevant to football coaching, it's relevant to all areas of life as well. The more you practice something, the more you can master it, and that habit of continually turning up plus deliberate practice will give you mastery in whatever you are trying to do. So that's the second thing I wish I knew before becoming a football coach, is that some things will just come with time. Some things are just experience, and building confidence when you're teaching is just one of them, because you have the knowledge. We all do. We all live and breathe the game. We all study it. We've all watched it. We've probably all played it. But that's one thing knowing it. It's another thing delivering it. So that communication, that confidence, important. Read up on it. See how other people do it. See how other coaches do it. Shadow, mentor, all those different things. But the main way you're going to learn is just by doing it and making those mistakes. That's the only way we are going to learn. So that is the second most important thing I wish I knew. Is just give it time, really. Don't need to force it. One more thing which I wish I knew before I started was that you're a role model to them, to those children, no matter who you think you are. You have to realize, maybe as a child you were the same. I definitely was. The 1 or 2 hours they have a week on the football pitch might be their best week, might be their best 1 or 2 hours. Their chance to escape, to have something different to do. The chance where they can release energy, maybe release the anger they have stored up. You don't know what's going on at home, you don't know what's going on at school. Maybe they've had the worst week at school and at home. And that 1 or 2 hours that they have with you are some of the most crucial and most pivotal. And for us as a coach, they don't care about how we feel. It's simple, they don't care. They're children, right? They don't care how we have felt the whole week. But it's our responsibility as role models to them in that 1 or 2 hour that they have in their week to make it their best. Now, obviously, there's two sides to this. We have to make sure that we're getting across the objective that we have for them, of course. However, we also need to make sure they're enjoying what they do. So in the last video, when we talked about always making something into a game, that's something which we always need to incorporate, because firstly, to form a match, we need to make sure everything's game realistic, but also we need to make sure that they are enjoying what they're doing. Because the only way you're going to gain their trust is by them knowing that you are catering to their needs as well. Because it's very easy to be a bit selfish, and we'll fall foul of it, even myself, we all do. And sometimes we just look out what we want to get out of it and what things we want to see. We also have to think of it from their perspective. What do they want to get out of it? Do they want to sit there and listen to you talk for 15 minutes about how to press and pressing triggers as 14-year-old children? Probably not. So how, as a coach, that's your challenge. How can you make it engaging for them? How can you make it fun for them? It's not a question I'm going to answer in this video, but it's a question to think about. What are you doing? Reflect. What was your last session like? Was it engaging for them? Or were they just standing around, looking around, not interesting, disengaged? How can you change that if that is the case? And going back to my main point, that's how you role model for them. How you make that session for them could shape their week, could shape their month, their year. So make it count and make it engaging and make it fun. And it's something I wish I realized before, because it's very easy to fall foul of just being selfish and letting your own desires of what you want to get out of it get in the way of players actually playing. They're the most important thing there. Not thing, person, right? The last thing I wish I knew before becoming a football coach is that the most important skill that you'll probably learn or pick up, or the skill that you need to have, is adaptability. It's the skill that I've thought about the most, and it's the skill I've had to become good at. I've forcefully had to become good at this. Not because I deliberately wanted to, but just by being put in situations where I've needed to adapt has been crucial for me. The reason sort of links into my previous points. When you have a session plan and you have to change things up, maybe some people are not here, and sometimes the weather even affects it. If you have a block of maybe 5 minutes where you want to go through and explain something on your tactics board, and all of a sudden it starts raining heavily, a lot of us don't have the privilege of just going inside to a whiteboard. We don't have that privilege as grassroots coaches. We don't. So what do we do in that instance? We have to change the way we approach coaching that session. Maybe we give them a longer match just for that instance, make sure they're happier. Maybe you can give them a quick point. Maybe give them a little challenge. How quickly can you get the ball back? Maybe you get 2 goals for getting the ball back in 5 seconds, if that's But the point is, if that's what you're trying to get across, maybe pressing quickly, how many tackles can you make in a minute? How many touches can you take before releasing? So whatever it is, little challenges within games can help them, especially when you don't have a block of time to talk to them, especially when the weather isn't good. So those little things on the spot you'll have to end up thinking of. And sometimes you have a session plan, you think, look, this first thing's gonna take 10 minutes, second thing 15, next thing 20, for example. Well, if they're not good at the first 10 minutes of the session, it's not wise to move on to the next 15 because they've not done the first 10. So it's almost like you're forcing it. So sometimes the first 10 minutes might end up taking 20 minutes, and maybe the next thing ends up taking 30 minutes, and all of a sudden you don't have time for what's left. So whenever you're making plans, it's always important that you are setting out how long this is going to take, or maybe how long it could take. Always be variable, always be flexible. I think flexibility goes hand in hand with that adaptability skill as well. So hopefully this helped, and those are all the things I wish I knew as a learner, as a football coach. What else do you think? What other things can you think of that I haven't mentioned today? Thank you.